Right, everybody. So if you played in the event today, you got the Glide Accurate Trust. It's not a disc I was familiar with. I haven't thrown the Trust much, but it seemed very similar to the Warship, so I wanted to do a quick play a few holes that I typically throw the Warship on. This one I actually usually throw the river, but I know a lot of people do throw the Warship. So I think this is a decent aiming point. Looks like a pretty good wind. I'm just going to keep rethrowing. So this is the Warship. And this is, this is why I don't throw it, because I don't think it's hard to get it all the way to the basket. And I feel like this is a hole you can run. So that's why I choose the river. I think the Explorer is a good option as well. But I know a lot of people throw the Warship on this one, so figured I'd throw this and throw the Trust just to kind of see the difference. The Warship's a 6-speed and the Trust is a 5-speed, but they seem very similar in distance. If anything, I think the Trust is a little longer actually. So as you can see, the Warship's a very safe disc to throw on this hole. So I think that may be why a lot of people throw it. The river or something a little longer could potentially get you behind some trees, so there's a little more risk involved. As you can see, I think with this wind, the Trust might have enough to get there, but very, very similar flight paths. I think the Trust might be a little more stable, overstable than the Warship. It seems to fade just a tad bit more, from what I can tell so far. But I was going to make this and then post it and share it on the tips page and kind of see what people thought. If there's a lot of people that throw the Trust out there, I might consider replacing. See that same wind kind of hit the same spot as the Warship, so not much difference on that hole as far as I could tell. We're going to go to, this is a hole I feel like a ton of people throw the Warship. I love the Warship on this hole. It's a very safe, it's one of the easiest discs to make the island with consistently, but it also gives you a chance to run it. You can get an ace on this one. That was a little high, and that wind is tough sometimes. You kind of have to lower your aiming point. But this is the Warship a couple times. I usually put that middle chevron down kind of on the basket or just below the basket, depending on what the wind's doing. You can see I'm pretty well practiced with the Warship on this hole. But I wanted to throw the Trust just to see if it's, so I accidentally had to restart that. I accidentally hit retire instead of replay. But here we go. We'll throw the Warship a couple times. And I'm just really curious to see if the Trust is as dependable on this hole. So that's kind of my aiming point. This looks like it's to the right, but should hit the island. See if I can't. I'm just going to keep rethrowing. So we're throwing with the same wind. Again, that middle chevron, usually right down the top part, kind of on the top part of the basket. And that's usually a great aiming point for me. This one I yanked left a little bit. I was just going to throw them each twice, but see if I can. I went right, I went left. Let's see if I can put this one in the middle. Again, with the Warship, there's not much wind. I almost do the whole disc on side of the disc as far as how much anhyzer. Just a tad right, but you can see the potential, and all three of them were nice and safe, easy birdies with the Warship. And that's why I love that disc, and most people throw it on this hole. So the Trust, this is the exact same aiming point, same wind. Let's see if, see this just has a little more kind of pop to it. It actually ended up safe, but it was well high of the basket. I'm sure if you practice with this a lot, I think it'd still be a great disc for this hole and for most of the holes or shots. I'm just not as well practiced with it as the Warship, so. But I am curious. I don't know if it's going to replace it. I was thinking maybe, because it's got a little more, just a tad more distance. That's just right over the basket. I feel like if that same shot and that same pull with the Warship would have been right dead center, but see if we can lower. We're almost aimed at the bottom of the pole there with that same wind. And see, it's still high, even aiming that low. So far, that hole, I don't like it quite as much as the Warship. This is another hole that I love to throw the Warship. It's not going to give you an ace run, but anyone ace run in this one has got some balls. But it's pretty much safe anytime. The only time I'll throw anything different is if there's like a really strong 2 or 3 headwind, like dead headwind. Then I'll throw the river. But I was curious to see if the Trust would be any different on this hole. And maybe it could be more like a one disc hole than have to disc up to the river if there's a headwind. Looks good so far. Honestly, not much different there. It probably gets up a little farther, but you're not going to have to worry about it going too far, which is always the concern on this hole. As long as you can get it kind of somewhere centered through the double mando, then it'll slide down there, and that's the perfect spot right behind those stairs. So there you go. Let me know what you think. Curious if there's that many people that throw the truss, but I feel like it's a solid comparison. But appreciate you watching me play some DGV.